are continuing our learning about stock markets, and today we're going to focus in particular on stock market, not stork, but stock market data. Specifically with the data that you can track your stock, the way it changes, you can try to track the trends from day to day, things like that. You guys learned about some trends. Remember the bull market and the bear market? It's a bull market, there's an upward trend, right? If there's a bear market, it's a downward trend. You don't have to write this, but I want to elaborate on just the definition of a trend a little bit. So trend is the direction that prices are moving in based on where they've been in the past. Trends are made up of peaks and troughs. And so if you remember from the 8.2 section, where the blue bull market were the peaks above, and the yellow scraggly below were the was the bear market, right? So that was kind of showing you the trend visually on that infograph. It is the direction of those peaks and troughs that constitute a market's trend. So whether those peaks and troughs are moving up, down, or sideways indicates the direction of the trend. And you would generally pick a time frame, a period of time that you're going to describe that trend, right? Because almost all stocks are going to fluctuate over long periods of time. A few definitions: stock market, an institution through which stocks are bought and sold. So when we buy or sell stock, we're buying or selling shares of that stock. So stock is like the ownership in a company, and you can buy different numbers of shares of stock. You can sell different numbers of shares of stock. When you buy and sell stock, they refer to that as trading for some reason. So trades are stock market transactions. When you buy or sell stocks, you're trading it. Already got it, Jay? In order to interpret stock market data, you need to know the meaning of the categories in international stock market charts. So we're going to look at some terminology that you should understand, and we'll see this terminology used in the statistics for certain stocks later on in the lesson. 9 terms, but only 4 definitions here. The difference between the previous day's closing price and today's closing price would be the net change. The high price traded that day, the low price traded that day. We have 2 highs and 2 lows. This one is a 52-week high, so that's not in one day. Makes sense, right? So it's the high and low, so B and C. And the first price at which a share of stock was traded during a regular day's session, that is the opening price, or the open. Alrighty. Same 9 terms, but now we have 5 different definitions. E and F are a little bit confusing. So you see the last price here, so you think it's going to be the last. That is the terminology. But actually it is not the last, it is the close. The last price at which a share of stock was traded during a regular day session is the close. And then the last is actually the price per share of the most recent trade of a particular stock. Most recent kind of does mean last, right? Last hour would be the hour before, right? The most recent hour would be the last hour. But last actually means the last price of the day is the close. The number of shares traded in a given time period. Which one do you think that might be? Volume. And the highest price or the lowest price at which one share was traded in the last year is going to be the 52-week high and the 52-week low. Since these are kind of Captain Obvious ones. Ready to go on? Okay. Examine the data for XYZ Corporation published at the close of 2 trading days. So that terminology we just kind of defined, you can see that terminology listed here by day. XYZ Corporation, so the stats are for the same stock, but on 2 different days. Okay? Last, change, open, the 52-week high, the 52-week low, the sales in 100s, high and low. So we didn't see sales in 100s in our list. What do you think that one might be? Not the high and low. Sales in the 100s. This is actually the volume here. Okay. So high and low on 2 different days. We're finding the difference between the high and low on May 5th. We're just subtracting those. If we're finding the difference in the high and low on May 12th, we're just subtracting those. So May 5th, 52.60 minus 49 for a difference of $3.60. Most of the time we're referring, these stats refer to a dollar amount. Sometimes they refer to shares. On the 12th, remember 51.40 minus 50.60, these two here, for a change of 80 cents. And that is the high and low on each day. The difference between the 52-week high and the 52-week low on May 5th, sometimes it's going to be the same, sometimes it might not be the same. But in this particular case, both highs are 60.45, both lows are 43.60. We'll subtract them. And they're the same. Sorry? The 52-week high and 52-week low. 52-week high and 52-week low. So the volume of shares posted is the next thing we're going to be talking about. The volume of shares posted. They give us that information in terms of the sales in 100. So here it says on May 5th, 28,000. So this refers to the number of shares traded on May 5th. But it's not 28,000, it's 28,100 or 28,000 times 100. So the total number of shares traded for XYZ Corporation on May 5th was 28,000 times 100 or 2,800,000 shares. And on May 12th, there was 32,000 shares in 100. So 32,000 times 100 or 3,800,000 1,200,000 shares. All right. This one gets a little trickier. You need me to go back? Ready? Mm-hmm. All right. It's a little bit trickier here. It says, still looking at the same corporation, still the same 2 days, all the data is the same, but you'll notice this says, at what price did XYZ Corporation close on May 4th? Well, they don't tell us anything about May 4th, right? We can use the May 5th data and this change to find the close on May 4th. So the close on May 4th is going to be the close on May 5th minus the change. So the close here is last minus the change. So the previous day's close, 5220 minus 261. They also asked for May 11th, and I didn't have enough room, so I went up here. So for May 11th close, also the last of May 11th minus the change, which you'll notice the change here is a negative, right? So it's the last minus the change. So that's 49.98 minus negative 155. Probably should put parentheses on that. Caught up with me? No. Okay. All right. Percent of change. I don't know if you remember this. This is probably something you learned in 7th grade, maybe 8th grade, but probably 7th. 7th grade, pretty smart. So the percent of change from May 4th to May 5th. We did May 11th up here. You did. All right, do we need to go back? All right. So if we're finding the percentage change from May 4th to May 5th, what we're doing is we're using the last on May 5th minus the last on May 4th divided by the last on May 4th. So there's always going to be, these two are going to be the same. If you remember from middle school math, it was the change on top divided by the original. So you could buy new minus original or original minus new. That part didn't matter so much, but you always have to divide by the oldest date. So just remember, you're always dividing by, because this is the part that kids mess up on. They'll put the wrong number on the bottom. So you're always putting the earliest date on the bottom, the original date. And then the other thing you want to make sure you remember when you do this, you're either going to use parentheses here or hit equals before you divide, because that's fraction bar, right? So the last on May 5th is 5220, and the last on May 4th is the one we found, 49.59, divided by 49.59. I just hit equals here, and then divide. And then equals here, and then times. And this is rounded to the nearest tenth place. 10th place, I should say. So if we're doing the same thing from May 11th to May 12th, so the previous day are these two. So these are both going to be May 11th here, and this will be May 12th. So May 12th minus May 11th divided by May 11th. Does that make sense? So 49.98 minus 51.53 that we've got up here divided by 51.53 equals times 100. Don't forget equals, divide by, equals, times 100. And now because the price went down, it's a negative percent of change. It's a percent of decrease. If it's a positive percent change, it's a percent of increase. If it's a negative percent change, it's a percent of decrease. Any questions? You guys need another minute on this one? Caught up? Okay. 52-week high, 52-week low. The difference in these, we did this before, so you could probably figure it out. The only difference here is there's more than one stock listed here, so you just have to look for the appropriate stock. So if we want to know the difference in the 52-week high and low for Petro China Company, we find Petro China Company on the list, and then we look for the 52-week high and low, and difference just means to subtract them, right? So for Petro China Company, it's 266.81 minus 112.11, and that difference in that 52-week high and low is $154.70. The next one I asked about is McDonald's. So go here, look at McDonald's. And the weekly high and low, 63.69 minus 46.64, 17.05. For Freeport McMoran, no some big surprises here. We're just finding it on the list. 120.2 minus 66.39. $53.81. Last one they asked us to find the difference for is Texas Instruments, so right here. 39.63 minus 27.51, $12.12. Any questions? Need me to hang out here for a second, or are we good? Okay. The day's high and low. The day's high and low, which is a different spot on here. This is the day's high and low right here. Westpac. Looking here at Westpac. 115.35 minus 113.50. The difference in the daily high and low price for that Westpac Banking Corporation is $1.85. If we want to know the difference in McDonald's, we just go up here and subtract their high and lows. 58.77 minus 57.42 for $1.35 change. Berkshire Hathaway is the expensive one up here. $151,650 is the high price for one share for the year. For the day, the high price was $128,600. I have to sell my house to buy any shares of stock in this company. So we're just subtracting 128,600 and 127,000, well, for a difference of $1,600. And last but not least, Freeport-McMoran. 120.06 minus 116.64, $3.42. Good? Okay. The volume. So remember, you're not going to see the word volume. You're going to see sales of 100. This is the volume. Berkshire Hathaway Incorporated, their volume is only 4.11 hundredths. So that's 4.11 times 100. So the volume of trading for this one day, April 22nd, was 411 shares. B, McDonald's Corporation. How many shares did they trade on April 22nd? So it's this times 100. Just add 2 zeros to it. You couldn't add 2 zeros up here, but you can move the decimal point 2 places to the right there, right? Multiplying by 100 could mean adding 2 zeros and moving your decimal place to the right. 2 zeros wouldn't work on this one, but Freeport-McMoran times 100 for a total shares traded 14,754,000 shares. All of these should have the word shares by them. And the last one I ask about, Texas Instruments. That's times 100. So 28,801,200 shares that they traded in one day. So it seems like Berkshire Hathaway's company would be worth so much more money than these other companies because their stock price is so high, but they're not trading as many shares in general either. There's probably not as many shares outstanding. I would venture to say some of these other companies have a total value that's greater than Berkshire Hathaway, even though those stock prices are super high. You guys done here? Okay. And this is the last one we're going to do because this is where I stopped with everyone else. Determine the closing price on April 21st for each of the following stocks. April 22nd is the information we're giving. Remember, we did this back here, right? So it's last, Well, you're not finding the percent increase or decrease here, you're just finding the closing price, right? So it's the last on 422 minus the change on 422. So this is what you're putting to tell you how to do it. And then we'll do some examples. So this is last minus change here. So the Westpac Banking Corporation, this bottom one here, the last is $113.62. The change was $2.45. And so the closing price on April 21st is $111.17. The next one they ask about is McDonald's. The last 58.35, and the change is a negative 55 cents. So you have to subtract that negative, right? And so that's really an increase of 55 cents to $58.90. Same with Berkshire Hathaway. Minus a negative is going to be a plus, so you're actually adding $1,000. The last is $127,200. You add 1,000, you get $128,200. And Freeport-McMoran. You did that one, and Freeport-McMoran here. $116.65, a change of $3.51 if you subtract those. You would get $115.14. Let me know if I need to go back to another page for anybody. And remember, we're going to finish example 6 tomorrow. You'll submit it in class, and then you'll start work on the worksheet. I would imagine finish the worksheet if you want to, if you're working.